पोस्ट कॉलोनियल इंडिया, इंडिपेंडेंट इंडिया की हिस्ट्री में ऐसे घटना हुआ ही नहीं इस देश में. It has never happened. The manner of the constitutional mechanisms have collapsed. The 60,000 people rendered homeless, thousands of them, as we speak here, they are linguisting in relief camps. जो बतवार के टाइम में जो हुआ था, during the time of partition in 1947, it is exactly the same thing. You will feel so bad if you happen to visit that in your own country, we are reenacting the same tragedy. If you visit those relief camps, you will sense it. Our Prime Minister seems to be more concerned with crises and conflicts in other parts. And just as people used to say, Europeans used to look at Africans and Asians, jo Hutus and Tutsis were fighting among each other. It is their problem. And what we as Europeans can do kind of things, dur se dekhne ka jo ek tarika hai, I think sadly the Prime Minister of this country seems to be doing exactly the same. He thinks that conflict in Ukraine is more important than the crisis in his own country, in Manipur. Either he doesn't think that Manipur deserves that kind of interest, or he doesn't think that Manipur is part of this country. Otherwise, I am sure that he would not have allowed to linger this violence in the state of Manipur. It is sad at one level, and it is a sense of indignation and frustration among the people is really bad. Please mark my word, people started saying that please go back, all the Indian armed forces, we'll deal our situation ourselves, which is not a good sign for the country. The country must know when you collapse your institutions, when you allow your citizens to be subjected into this kind of humiliation and crisis, people are bound to respond in one way or the other. I just wanted to say this is not only the violence and human tragedy, there is also an institutional and constitutional collapse. That's very important. The state subject, law and order, is unconstitutionally has taken over by the central government. Mr. Kuldeep Singh was appointed on 4th May 2023. First, he was appointed as a security advisor. And then on 31st of the same month, he was again appointed as a chairman of the Unified Headquarters, which is commonly referred to as Unified Command. What is this? Unified Command or Headquarters. This is where you have the representative of the Army, the BSF, the CRPF, the paramilitary forces like Assam Rifles, Manipur Police, IB and intelligence unit. Everybody is there to coordinate. The mandate is to deal with the security and law and order situation in the state. And now that we have flagged up these issues long time back, who is in charge of the state of Manipur? And surprisingly, the state government has been silent. They have been following this kind of subversion of constitutional mechanism themselves. So there is a serious subversion of constitution, the federal structures. I just want to remind you, some of you, that there's Baba Saheb Ambedkar once said, there is a sovereign and plenary authority of the state cannot be eroded. Law and order is absolutely the domain of the state government. So this government, surprisingly, not only have presided over the violence, the state government, they have also played, along with the central government, in the subversion of the constitution itself. So defending Manipur right now is also defending Indian constitution, that the federal structure remains intact. And I think this is something that we must keep in our mind. And I think we have crossed all limits. The constitutional propriety, from the dimension of humanity, आप लोग सोचिएगा कि इस देश का प्राइम मिनिस्टर जो है उसके दिमाग में क्या चल रहा है? I started thinking like that now. What is there? Is it some kind of a psychological breakdown that you don't feel the need to intervene, वो बोलता रहता है कि CM is cooperating with us, obviously through the subversion. And as Supriya ji has already pointed out, one is playing a victim or a defender of the state makes no sense to me. So I normally avoid talking about state government now. I mean, it's beyond that. It's the government of India which is solely responsible for the subversion of the constitution and the tragedy. 60,000 central troops. How is it possible that people lost life? Manipur's population is like a district of Delhi. 33 lakhs was around that. And 22 square kilometers. 1,000 kilometers. Such a small state, you have a presence of 60,000 troops. What they have been doing? What is our defense minister, what are our home ministers doing? So it is not only prime ministers. The entire cabinet is responsible for this. And for the rest of the country, I am appealing as a representative of those people in our temple of democracy. Do not watch this tragedy like the Europeans or the Westerners have done when tragedy happens in Rwanda. The fight between Tutsis and Hutus, are you going to say that, oh, Kuki and Meiteis are fighting? That attitude is what the government of India is trying to preach by allowing this violence to go on for 16 months. And I think our leader Rahulji is very decent when he said the Prime Minister should visit. He has appealed as a national leader. I often wonder if none of the national leaders have not visited, what would have people felt? They would have felt abandoned. The government of India has already abandoned the people of Manipur, and thankfully our party leaders have not. And today also you can see that AICC is still organizing a press conference. That shows whether you are a small state or a big state, all Indians are Indian, all union states of these unions are equally deserving of the dignity that each of the constituent unit of this country must have. I think this is something that I want to place in front of you. Please communicate this message and make sure that the Prime Minister at least comes back to his senses and try to intervene decisively, ask his security forces to act, rein in the violence, and denounce all kind of sectarian-based political demands. That kind of politics must also be rejected. Only then this peace will come back. These two needs to be done. I think the people have already spoken out, the people of Manipur, despite their tragedies. And I think the situation is, if you allow this to go on, the kind of sentiment, I hope still that it remains towards the BJP. It should not turn towards the country. And the BJP is making in such a sensitive state the sense of abandonment and neglect, and in fact also complicit in some way with the violence is not a good sign for this country. I think government of India must realize this sooner the better. Thank you.
खबरों से खबरदार रहने के लिए चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें और प्रेस करें बेल आइकन।